Nostradamus was an assignment, so that she had to finish that. So, but that didn't even stay with the same person. It went through several different people. Probably if I had to calculate, probably be 5, maybe 10% at the very, very most of her people that made it into books. But she has said many times, it's like in the sometimes the most boring life. I mean, the most basic life you can imagine. It's hard. It's like, oh my gosh, what is this? Because as a practitioner, we don't know what is the reason for this. We get that information in the higher self. We get more information about it, it ties it all together. But sometimes we're going through these lives going, what does this mean? What is it? What information and stuff? And it might be one little thing. We don't necessarily see it, but that person is seeing it because they're experiencing it. And it's one little tiny thing that is what they needed. They needed that. And see, I'm getting all the truth bumps again. That it was like something, and it's like to us, it's like, I don't understand the meaning of that. But to them, it means something. And that's what's important. It doesn't have to be monumental. It doesn't have to be otherworldly. It doesn't have to be book worthy. It's what did you get? It probably changed your life because that one thing. And that's what we found. That one little thing completely changed the trajectory of their life. And I remember when this started coming in, oh gosh, it was when I was first starting to speak with my mother, and things would just come in. And so I was like relating to other people. It's like, how many have abilities coming in? And people like would reluctantly, like maybe a quarter to a third of the audience would reluctantly raise their hand. And I would accept that. And I'm like, this is where we are now. These are coming in. These are our natural abilities, these psychic intuition, all these different things, whatever it is. It's different for everybody. But it's like, these are natural and normal for us. And it's like, you've got to acknowledge it, and then more will come in. But as long as you keep saying, no, I don't have anything, I don't, this doesn't work for me, then you're blocking it off. And so like I said, I accepted that ratio at that time. But now, if I ask and only like half of the audience, I'm like, I don't accept it anymore. It's got to be the entire room, because that's where we are now. All of us have abilities coming in. And what it is, there are natural latent abilities. They have been there the whole time. We just turned them off, weren't acknowledging them, didn't believe we could have them, whatever. And now, whether it's a DNA, I don't know, but it has been something that's been laying dormant, and then now they're coming in. And so, and what I tell the audience is, if you don't think you have any, you have expectations, or you don't feel like you're special. You don't feel like it's like you have to be special in order to have this. Well, first of all, expectations, we got to address that. Is like, well, I don't get anything like you get, like I don't get, like maybe somebody gets pictures or they get message, whatever it is. Well, I don't get that. Well, see, that's where you're putting an expectation on what it's supposed to look like. It's going to be different for every single person. And I like to make the analogy of how many different ways do we have in our physical world of receiving information. Now, back when I started this, it was newspapers, radio, magazines, things like that. Now, add to it what we have now. I mean, that was before internet was really, really big. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't like it is now. And it's like you have all the different things on the internet to receive information. I mean, gosh, it's really mind-blowing how many we have here. And so if you can look at that as it's almost like the physical world represents something, and it's like how it does an example, like how they always say art imitates life. It'd almost be like physical world imitates this other world, in that it's showing us we have ways to get information. We have lots and lots and lots of ways. And so, and it's different. And like where you might prefer, one search engine, another person likes another one, another person likes newspapers and certain newspapers. See, it's like different things for different people. It's the same way on that level of these abilities. We have different things that we kind of naturally gravitate toward and what we receive. And as soon as you will just start acknowledging that something is happening and that you do receive information, it opens up your, like I look at it as like a portal. It's like it's like a tube that's coming into or something, and it expands it. And it's a muscle for sure that we're building. And as we acknowledge and as we trust it, trust is a big word in there, then it starts opening that tube to allow more options of information and ways that the information can come in. So that's the expectations. Then we have, what was the other one I said? I just went blank. That's weird.
Well, I was going to ask you this. I love this analogy, right? And it goes perfectly along with what you're saying. It's like a singing ability. We all can sing, regardless if some people think we're really terrible or we're really good. And when you look at, say, I mean, your mother was an opera singer, so let's use this as an example. You know, she probably trained and studied and got to a certain skill that she was good enough to do it publicly. I think it's kind of like that with our psychic abilities. When we train, when we use discipline, when we meditate, when we create this internal environment that cultivates these abilities, then we get better and better and better with our abilities.
Yeah, and it just keeps attracting more in, you know, so it's like it's a huge thing to acknowledge. One, and just on that, you know, where people, I don't have anything, I don't get anything. I guarantee I haven't met anybody yet that has said they do not get what we call, over here we call it the goosebumps. What do you call it in Australia?
Well, I've been calling it truth bumps, and I've coined that from you.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, well, in some countries they call it chicken flesh, or you know, they have different words, but it's those little bumps that you get, and they just all of a sudden come up, and that's exactly it. And what I was told is when those come up, it means you just said truth. You something you said or something you just heard was truth, and so that's where I call them truth bumps, because it's a letting you know about things, and that's a huge ability to be able to discern truth. Oh my gosh! So if just by acknowledging that, and invariably when I talk about this in any group setting, somebody that believed they didn't have anything, then all of a sudden they're going, oh my gosh, I just got the truth bumps. And then by them doing that, see, they open themselves up now to be open to other things. And so that's huge as a starter. Just start somewhere. And it truly is. I mean, I'm getting the bumps all over my legs right now. My truth bumps are riding up my legs. So just whatever you just said, or whatever you just heard.
Until you said that I really started to pay attention to that, and I amazed myself just how often that occurs. And when you make something conscious, it surprises you how much you actually do receive that. We get it all the time. I mean, everyone experiences the truth bumps all of the time, and so I've learnt now to pay attention when that occurs and go, okay, what is the thought? What am I having? What am I resonating with here? Pay attention. And it's a great way, isn't it? Because the body is a wonderful communicator, and it's communicating to get our attention, to confirm, if you like, the thought, the feeling, the emotion that we're having about a particular thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then the second reason that many people would not raise their hands was they thought, and it's probably indoctrination, whatever, they thought, well, you have to be special in order to be able to receive, to be able to have these abilities. And for a time, that's what we were told, you know, only special people, only elite, only whatever, you know, that's probably gone through centuries, you know, through eons, maybe. Only very particularly special people can have these. And then more recently, it was like just very psychic people can have it. So see, it's still special people, you know, it's like not everybody can do this, but no, everybody can do this. It's there. And it was almost like you were shunned if you were an ordinary person and you could do some of these things. It's like, oh my gosh, in fact, that's where the witch trials came in, and all those things. Those were ordinary people that just had some abilities, you know, and most of them didn't even do that. They were just mostly into nature, you know, so it was like just respecting nature and being killed for it. So can you imagine if we were killed back then? So I'm bringing something up that happens a lot. If we were killed in other lives for displaying some remoteness to abilities, do you think, there'd be a little bit reluctance in this life maybe to be open? Yes, look what I can do. You know? So that's part of it. But that's what I want to tell everybody. We're all special. Every single person is special. If it takes a special person to have this, we're all special. Everybody is special in their own way, and everybody has abilities. It's just a matter of finding what yours is. How do you receive information? And that's it. It's really simple.
Yeah. And I just think it's one of those things. You're exactly right, because I see it in a lot of sessions I do, a lot of regression work I'm sure people do in QHHT, where people do go back to lives where they've been hung or they've been burnt because they've shown these abilities. And so there is often a fear, a self-created fear of, perceived of the soul memory as annihilation. If I exercise this, if I practice this, this is my soul memory here. And often they'll heal it in a QHHT session, because that is the thing that maybe is preventing them from moving forward. And that's why it's the most appropriate place for them to go back and maybe experience something like that.
Exactly. It's just showing them where it came from, and it doesn't necessarily apply to this life. Like you're saying, it's cell memory. And that's where Mom discovered that, was like when things were we call it residue from another life, or thought patterns, or issues with the body. Some of those are residue that's carried over from a death from another life, to remind this body, don't go there again. But it's like, because on that level, there's no time, and it doesn't understand this is a different lifetime. It just goes cells and bodies. And so sometimes I think I like to look at, it's probably a similar time period. Like if all of a sudden something comes on and it's like, that's interesting. And when we do trace it back to another life, it was probably a similar age, similar circumstances. There's something similar about it that it's reminding us. This is what happened before, so it was like, oh, alert, be careful. But that's where we have to discern. It's like, okay, and through a session, like you said, QHHT, we can determine that was another life. It doesn't necessarily pertain to this life, but thank you for the kind of like helping me be aware of it. It's more of that, just where it's coming from.
When I was traveling in the UK, I remember looking around. I don't so much notice it here in Australia, but particularly in the UK, I noticed, and Scotland, I was in Scotland, the UK, and Ireland, and I noticed there was a lot of people I was seeing that had birthmarks around their neck or birthmarks around their head area.
Oh,
I thought it was really interesting, because I know from what I've discovered through QHHT hypnosis, often and this is the case for me, I've got a birthmark on my arm, and that was how I first learnt about birthmarks. I hadn't heard about that. It can be an unresolved trauma from another life, and it's often the fatal wound that takes that individual out in that life. And I thought it was really interesting there in the UK and Scotland, people having these birthmarks around their head and thinking, being shot or being hung.
Yeah, if they're going around like that, that's interesting. I would think hung as well.
Yeah, women with, and it grabbed my attention, because I've got this way of thinking, and I thought, well, it's interesting. A part of the world that probably a lot of that did happen in. So who knows, maybe those people are reincarnating in similar spots, like location.
I was going to say, that's not so common that you come back in the same area. So that otherwise it'd be like, yeah, look at the age, how old things are there. But maybe it is, they're still trying to resolve something that happened in that area. And so they're coming back and into the same.
Well, it only particularly sparked my interest, I think, is because I don't so much know. It's quite rare. I normally would observe that and notice it, and it was just happening a lot. So who knows? Maybe they were trying to give me a message about it. But it was interesting when I was traveling. I was seeing a lot of these sites. I'm sure I know you've been to the UK and even Scotland. You see some of these ancient sites and where things, happened.
Yes, there's so much there, and I would love to experience more. But like, that's one area where, they don't wipe things away. It's old. I mean, really, really old. things. So you can have all kinds of experiences and memories there. So, and it could be that, it's just, picking things up. But yeah, those birthmarks, like you said, I love how you explain it. The fatal blow from another life. That's usually what it's representing. And it's just a matter of understanding, why it's there, where it's coming from, things like that. I had a birthmark right here that was from my throat being slashed, and like the one right before this one. And as soon as I made, like in the session, I was aware, of what was going on. I was like, I was like, oh my goodness, that's where that birthmark came from. So I directly correlated at the time, and I'm touching it and didn't think any more about it. And a month later, happened to notice it wasn't there anymore. And it had been there all my life. It wasn't there anymore. So it was just making the connection. So like you said, if it's resolved, that was resolved and understood. Maybe it had to do with, because many people from my current life were in that life. So maybe it had something to do with that. I don't know, other than just me touching it and making the association. I think I've mentioned this before, I'm not sure, but I have a large birthmark on my back, the low back. And I have seen one life where I was stabbed with a sword, like many of us, I think, were run through with swords. And so, but it's still there. So I have a feeling there are more, more fatal blows to the low back. So
what was the lesson in that life for you, and what was the purpose?
I remember because this was one of the first sessions that my mother did with me. And so it was before she was fully developed out to where we got to we didn't even go to the higher self at that time. We didn't know about it. But I remember her asking, it was like, so it could have been I don't know if it was a lesson or a purpose. But it was like, what was I carrying from that? And things that happened in there. I remember loving someone, and then that person was killed. It was like people were killed and stuff. And I remember I can't love anybody. I can't love anybody. This is what happens when you love. And I remember that. And so she was like, whoa, I remember her trying to talk through that, because like, that's not a great one to take forward. So, but the other, I don't recall. I have to go back and look at it, how far she took it. I mean, I just remember, because we did several sessions with that, because she was going to write it up, and I have the material. Maybe I'll write it up at some point. But anyway, we'll see. What was interesting though, I had a session with someone else, a QHHT practitioner. There was a time there where, people were always asking to do session on me. I'm an easy client. And it was fun. And this one time I went back to that same life, and I'm thinking, why am I going back here? I know this life and everything. But what was really cool was when I went to an earlier time. The man was younger and he was happy, and it was really nice. That was like closure for me, because the only part I had seen was his later part, and he was very depressed, very heavy. He was just like this. It was a heavy energy, and it was very depressing. And that's all I remember about that guy. And so this was nice. It showed me, no, he was happy at one time, and he was a nice, a gentle man and stuff. And it was really nice to see that. So that was my closure with him.
It's like my first QHHT session, actually. I got I was a winemaker in France, and somehow I got my arm trapped in one of the machinery, and I bled to death, and I have a big birthmark on my left arm. And it was interesting, because my higher self came through and said, oh, that's why you've got the birthmark. And I think I said earlier, I didn't even know that there was a thing. I think your book mentions birthmarks and traumas, right? And I didn't even know that at the time. This was years ago when I first had my own session. And so that was really interesting information.
Yes. And so it connected. Is it still there? Did it?
It's still there. It's faded though, it's faded significantly, which is interesting. So maybe I'll do another regression and see maybe there's something else that needs to be worked on.
Yeah, because the fading is great, because that's what birthmarks do. They won't be immediate. They fade, but it's usually a month or so, because that's how long, for the pigment to change, because it's a pigment thing. So, and that takes about 28 days, I think, Mom said. So, but it could be something else, or it could be something that's still, like you said, still there to remind you, maybe something that happened in that process that you still need to be aware of.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. Have you seen through QHHT a lot of birthmarks disappearing after people resolve these issues?
I've seen some. I've heard of some. I haven't seen them myself. I've heard of them, but not a lot. I think there's some people that's just, hey, I can remove birthmarks, and stuff, and they make it their focus. But it's usually just like a side thing that happens. It just happens, and it's not a focus, because most birthmarks don't bother people. They're just there. They're part of you, and unless you're really focused on it, it's like, oh, I want this removed, it's like it just comes up, oh, that's why that's there. But I feel like it's when the direct connection, like when yours is like, that's what that birthmark is from. See, when something says that's what that's from, now you've made the connection, and so now it can, it's like it's not necessary anymore. It was like that was all it was needed for. Maybe it was just noticed. I don't know, but anyway. Yeah, it happens. So many things happen. It's what do we focus on?
And it's like so much with health, isn't it? Your book articulates this so beautifully, is that once we get the message, we don't need the messenger anymore. And often that is when the illness dissipates, or we overcome the whatever we're facing, if it's an addiction or if it's a physical ailment. Once we get the reason behind why that's occurred in the first place, then we just don't tend to need it, and it dissipates.
Absolutely. The messenger is the ache, pain, illness, disease, whatever. It's a messenger delivering a message. And so, like you just said so great, so beautifully, the message is, it's delivering like what it is you're needing, and then it's delivering it by the body. So the body ache, pain, see, it can go away. And that's where it's like we're taught from pre-birth, oh, these things are there for life, especially when a doctor starts drilling it in. No, you will be sick for the rest of your life. And it's like, that's what I want to do is let's put out a different message, rather than the one, because you've got to understand, when people say things like that to you, it's going in and you're creating with that. And that's what you're creating, your system and your body using that message. Okay, I will always be sick. I will always have this, because that's what they tell. That's what they say. And it's like, how about, you doctors out there, please, if you can just word it a little differently, that this issue does this, whatever, there's a huge thing of people identifying with the issue. And like I was saying, the issue is a messenger. It's not us. And it's like, I am this, I have this, or my this. And it's like, when you say those words, you are making it you. You are identifying with it, and you are completely taking it in. Please understand how powerful your words are and what you are doing. If just one little shift of, I have, or this issue that I am dealing with, something like that, and then we'll just shift it. Once you can do that, see, then you're disassociating from it. Now it's something that it's over here. And then we can shift it some more and go, this issue that is trying to teach me something. Oh my goodness. Now we've shifted it into a completely different place that we can learn from and we can benefit from. See how we just completely made it, I am this disease, to I am experiencing an issue that I can learn from. What is it you want to teach me? What is it you're trying to tell me? That's now you can go there, because up until then, it's like, oh, this is what I am. This is where it's really difficult to go, oh, what can I learn from this? You're associating with it way too much. You've got to pull yourself away. And that's how you do it, is with your words. So, anybody out there, I watch these commercials. Yeah, I watch these commercials. It's funny. It's actually a game for me now, but it's like the and I hope this doesn't get, anybody in trouble, but the brainwashing, it's really brainwashing. It's like wording it this way, and all these things call it my this, my that. And it's like, it's not yours. It's an issue that you're experiencing. Now let's get to the 4. Anyway, that's my passion. Can you tell?
No, I love it. And I was listening to a recording of Wayne Dyer. You're probably familiar with Wayne Dyer. And he was talking about this the other day, and something I was listening to. He said, you stop saying that you're sick, you're unwell. Say, I am health, and talk that put that into your vocabulary, and then watch your life start to align with that belief, because we do create through our words and our beliefs, and that's how we create our physical world. And health is such an interesting one, because I think it's one of the main reasons I tend to get a lot of people come to me for QHHT sessions, and they've got either one woman that came the other day, she'd been given a 2 years to live, basically, cancer in the body. And it always seems to be the same issues, internalized anger, unresolved emotions. That's this woman was in her late 60s, I think, over a long period of time, toxifies the body, because internally it's got nowhere to go. Everything's energy, so it stores and then toxifies the physical body.
Yeah, it's stuffed down deep inside. It's buried. It's been these emotions, and that just churn and churn and churn, and there's anger in there. Anger is what cancer is representing. There's anger in there. There's all kinds of emotions, but they've been stuffed down deep, 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 and they just keep going. And it's like they're covered up with so much stuff that the person is now in great denial, and they will be in great. I don't have a problem. It's everybody else. You're the one with the problem. I am fine. I am this. And you can almost hear the anger when they say that too. It's like, I'm not fine. I'm okay. I'm okay. But that's where it's a matter of unpacking that, because that anger is shoved down and that's what it's trying to tell you. It's time to deal with it. You've got so much anger, and you packed it down. And so that's where it looks like cancer. And it's just to show you what you've been doing. You've been packing in anger and not dealing with it, and you got to deal with it. And that's its message. And what needs to happen there is for you. That's what's gorgeous in a QHHT session is you need to do talking. And so any way you can do it, you've got to talk this stuff out. You got to let these emotions start coming out, and you've got to forgive. There's stuff. It's usually anger with another person or a situation, whatever. And that's where you've got to let it go and forgive. And some people are like, you don't understand what happened. I can't forgive. It's so bad. And it's like, but that's where you have to really look at it. Is it, look, we're talking about your life here. You're holding on to this anger and this resentment, and it's taking your life. Is that really worth whatever you're angry about? Whatever I can't forgive them. You don't know what they did. Is it really that important, whatever they did? They're killing you. That's what's happening. You're allowing this to kill you. And that's kind of where you have to get and realize that it's like, there's no pussyfooting around this stuff. When it's cancer, you got to get in there and be straight. That person has been deluding themselves for a long, long time.
I remember my mum shared a great story about a guy who had cancer, and it turns out in the session that he had held resentment to his wife, his ex-wife, and wouldn't let it go. And I think he said words something like, well, you don't know what she did to me, or something like that. And she said, well, are you going to let her kill you? And that was the wake-up call, I think, in the end.
Yeah. And she's like, you have to forgive her. He's like, I can't forgive her. You don't know. She won't let me see the kids. She won't. You don't understand what she's doing.
You remember
the
like, same way.
And it's like, well, she's going to kill you if you don't forgive. So is that? I mean, he keeps saying she'll win if I forgive. She wins, and
exactly.
She said, she wins if she kills you. If it works that way, if you die. So it's like, see, that's where you have to really sort it out. And is it worth what I'm holding on to? Is it really worth this effort that I'm making to be right, whatever it is, okay, you're right, but you're killing yourself. I mean, it's like, is it really worth it? And some, they want to hang on to the principle of the matter. I'm doing it for this, the righteousness of it. In their mind, that's what they're doing. But when you look at the whole picture, it's like, does it really make sense? Look what you're doing to yourself. And that's what your body is trying to tell you. Look what you're doing. This is you doing this. And this is you trying to tell yourself this. Let it go. It's usually forgive, let go.
Yeah.
Get rid of all this anger.
I've seen people that have literally, and older people have started a degenerative loss of eyesight. And I think this is mentioned in your book, when someone doesn't want to see something, maybe it's something they did or the past or whatever, that physically they begin this degeneration of their, ability to see.
Right. Yeah, something happened. And that's where you look back at, when did it start? Things like that. And that'll give you clues as to maybe what it is that they couldn't accept seeing or don't want to see. But there's something they don't want to see, something they don't want to look at, or maybe they don't want to see clearly. And that's where it might get blurry. You might start having blurred vision. Then the other part is like, sometimes you can see far, but you can't see near. You can see near, but you can't see far. So it'd be like, what is in the future that maybe you are afraid to see? Maybe you're not sure about what your future holds, or what is it that's right in front of you that you are not willing to look at? See, it can take on lots of different angles. These are guides, but your higher self is the best one to get the answers from. These are just clues as to what the information is probably around.
Could be. Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to ask you this question. I think we touched on it before because I asked you around my own dog, but when it comes to illness with our beloved pets, and pets get cancers and pets get broken legs, do you think a lot of the time that is them taking on the energies of the owners and people around them, that the humanity that is close by?
Yeah, what the word that was used for me, and it could be they're taken on, but what the word that was specifically used is they are reflectors. They are reflecting what is going on in the home. So, and I had a veterinarian was asking me too. He says, what is your take on that? And I told him that. He goes, oh my gosh, that's dead on. He goes, and I told him how I was seeing. And he said, absolutely. He goes, I've actually seen where the animals many times have the actual diagnosis that the owner has. And so, and it's like, maybe they're not willing to look at it in themselves. So the animal's going to reflect it. So that's where we have lots of ways that we get reflections in case we're not willing to look at ourselves. And that's what they're doing. They're reflecting. And so it may not be, it's like something in the home. Sometimes it's a lot of chaos and arguments in the home. So they might be showing, maybe they're throwing up a lot or doing something like that. They're showing there's chaos. The cancer could be somebody has cancer, or it could be showing there's a lot of anger. See how that's, I know someone with their cat has diabetes, and so they're working through that. And it's like, and I talked to her, I'm like, okay, so they're reflecting something, and diabetes is usually lack of sweetness, lack of a dream, lack of joy. So I think what that cat's this person works, her understanding is working and everything. And she's kind of let her personal life to the wayside. So I think that was her cat reminding her to have fun. So
I love that word, reflectors. That I'm going to remember that one. That really makes a lot of sense, because I thought, definitely there's a connection, and that's so interesting about the vet there, the veterinarian who was obviously has seen this in their practice with this connection. And I even think I heard the other day someone had broken their leg, and then at the same time their dog hurts its leg. So it's like a mirror almost, or a reflector to their own circumstance. It's the universe trying to wake you up.
Absolutely. It's like, if it's not enough, because whatever that message was for you, if you didn't get it, then okay, the animal's doing it as well. And understand, because this person I said with a cat, that she felt really guilty that her cat was doing that. And I'm like, no, they are happy to take on this role. This is one of their roles that they do for us. They are here, they're our companions, and they're taking it on as they're reflectors. But we do that for each other too. Unconsciously, on this other level, we're making plans all the time, and we need help understanding something within our world. And so we have people volunteering to be in our world to reflect for us. It's like, okay, well, I will show you this that's going on. So see, this is going on all the time. That's us creating our environment, us creating our worlds and our scenarios, our plays, whatever, so that we can understand ourselves better. We want to know. So that's where all of this is happening. And the animals are just gorgeous at doing this for us. I mean, they're our companions, and that's a role that they've taken on. So trust that the animals are, they're like guides. I mean, in fact, I believe many of them are guides. I mean, they're like, I feel like they're just this higher level being that comes in to take on this beautiful role for us to help us, and they're just all that unconditional love.
Well, I even get a lot of feedback from people. I've had this a few times where people have said, well, if we're evolving from, a more primitive form of life through to a pet so that they can become human because they start to learn love and they become a individualized soul. A lot of people say, well, hang on, why would you want to jump to becoming human? Right. Dogs are much better. Cats are much better.
I agree. And that's what, and Mom would even say that too. And she had this thing that, it's like, okay, this is how we're evolving and stuff. But that's when you're looking at the linear timeline. When you look at it, the cylindrical one, it's like, and we're all doing this, it's all simultaneous. Everything's happening. That's when it throws all of that out. And we're having all these wonderful experiences. And that's where these incarnations and these other beings can be at any point in your evolution. I mean, they're all experiences that we're having. And so I firmly believe it would take a highly evolved being to be a pet, to reflect and to do these things. I mean, they are unconditional, and it's like they're there for you. I think about that sometimes about my babies, and I'm like, do you think, do you, I look at what I'm doing. Oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I have these goals and I have these dreams. And I look and I'm like, do you have goals? Do you have dreams? It's like, what is your world? And it's like they're there for us. That's, some people look at that, I think that's a huge, it's not a sacrifice. I keep hearing sacrifice. I don't know if it's a sacrifice, but it's a beautiful experience.
Well, I liked how you said it. It's almost like a guide in a way, like spirit guides I've learned have, some of them have incarnated. I was speaking to someone today. She works with angels, and she said, well, in her view, she said angels have not incarnated, but spirit guides have incarnated. And so they help you through the human experience.
Yeah, they understand the human experience.
And I think you're right in a lot of ways with pets. I think it's a very special role to, I'll use that word as well. I'm getting that as well. Sacrifice, or to come into this life to really assist like a guide would. So, and I saw an interview. I think I heard it the other day. It was on I had the TV on in the background, and it was an interview. And this woman literally said, this dog, and the dog had passed on. This dog saved my life. It gave me the reason to, I'm getting the chills as I said that, gave me, and how many times have dogs done that for people's mental health, giving someone a purpose to keep going? I mean, it's a companion when we're alone. So they do assume a very special role for humanity.
Right. I agree. And there's probably so much more that we're not even thinking of, but I think we're in the right direction. It's like, they're not just animals to be, they're not, in fact, that word, I mean, that's just it's just no different than a human. Okay, or human. I mean, it's like, that's just a classification, and that is it. That's where it stops. They are beautiful beings. I mean, my dog, and I know your dog, you see the being inside there. I mean, they're gorgeous beings. It's like, you can't convince me otherwise. It's like, and I even, like, I have deer that come up out here, and stuff. I have animals, and you look in their eyes, you see the being in there.
Too. And then if you ever see I've seen dead animals, and there's no animation, there's no life, and you can clearly know that there's nothing there anymore. So you just know when you sense, it kind of comes back to our abilities, doesn't it? Like, we have this sort of knowing that we can see a spirit has left a body, and you just know it's gone. You can see it. The animation has disappeared. Your mum said as well that the cats are interesting because the cats see energy first, right?
Right.
They see the energy of a person. So if someone's particularly negative and they walk into a room, well, the cat's going to react to their energy because that's what it first sees.
Yeah, in fact, that's how it recognizes you. And that's as I'm saying that, I'm like, well, that's how, on this other realm, that's how we recognize each other, is by our frequencies. So I wonder if that's what they're picking up, the frequency, the energy, and they recognize us by that. That's your signature, your energy signature. And that's how they know you, is by that. So they see that first, and then it comes into focus, physical, but they're seeing on that energetic level. Well, but you think as more intuitive we get, the more energetic we are becoming, or we're accepting. And I think we're doing the same thing. And I think that will continue to happen. And we know definitely on this other realm, that's how we perceive things. Because that's what we're told all the time in sessions. When you're involved, when you're talking to higher selves, you're talking to guides, you're talking to any beings in that spirit realm, any other realms, we always, usually humans, we want a name. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's not names, it's frequencies and energy. It's energy frequencies. It's things like that. That's what we recognize. That's what we go by. It's a sound, maybe. It's a something. It's not a name. Yeah. So I think they're just showing us this is another way to do it. This is a different, this is what you really do. And we come up with a name. If you think, oh, this is what's coming in, the names that we come up with, if you think about how we come up with names, isn't it usually, it's not, we put a lot of thought and feeling into names usually, because it's something, it's representing something. So that's just now coming in. So that's where our names come in, that we want that. But if we could just let that go a little bit and just be open to it being a feeling, or just a frequency, then that's our next.
And animals do this a lot. I mean, I've even noticed with my dog, he will bark at certain people. And generally when or he'll react to certain people, and most people's pets will know that. They know their pets well enough. And they will know if someone is a positive, nice, good person. I experience it a lot because I have QHHT sessions at my house, and my dog is there, and he'll sniff the person as they come. And I can see when, and it's funny, he works with me now in my sessions because he's in his little bed and he's so well behaved. He knows when when I start, he knows the script. When I start, he just goes right to. But I feel him kind of working with me, and he's been really healing for some people, because they just, it opens them up and makes them feel really comfortable. And he's only so small, so he's not intimidating to anybody.
Yeah, no, animals respond beautifully to this. I mean, they're attracted to it. And so if you're working in someone else's home and they have animals, because I did that once, I was in someone's home and she had a cat and a dog, and they were fine. The interview, that was all fine. We got into the room, do the session. The dog got closed out, but that cat accidentally, we didn't, she was probably hiding under the bed or something. I don't know, but we didn't know the cat was in the room. And the dog was making noise for a little bit, but as we got into it, the dog calmed down. But the cat then comes out and was really attracted. And about the point, I think it was when we were at the higher self point, and that's usually where it is. They really are attracted to that energy. And came and just walking all over her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's this cat going to do? And I think, well, should I pick off the cat, and because they're just laying there on top, and she just finally laid on her chest, and I was like, if I try to lift her, that could create, maybe she'll claw or something, if she doesn't know me. And I thought I just left her be, and she just laid there the whole time, and it never interrupted the session whatsoever. The person just kept talking, was never aware that the cat was there. But the animals are drawn to that energy. I mean, understandably, they see it, they get it.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way, but you're absolutely right. Absolutely, they would sense that energy, feel it, and probably more so than we do, because I think that's one of the things that they're more attuned. And when we talk about our abilities, I think we're getting more in touch with those aspects of ourselves. We're giving them attention. I even heard years ago about truth bumps, even though for all of our life we've experienced the goosebumps, and yet we've not really known what they were for. I don't even think traditional wisdom has a way.
We didn't get a translation manual for our bodies, and it's up to us to start figuring this out. And in the 70s, I think it was 80s, that Louise Hay first started introducing the idea that there's that's more to it. It's not just an ache, pain, illness. There's something more. And then I just, we just expanded off a bit. So Mom started getting more information. Then I just, we just opened it up even more.
Yeah.
So it's us to understand. That's why I'm saying it's like we didn't get an instruction manual or translation manual. Now we're learning to understand it.
And what I love so much about, I've looked at a lot of the themes in your book and a lot of the explanations. I've been listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and you're probably familiar with Joe.
I've heard of him. I haven't looked at his material, but I have heard of him.
But he's a trained medical doctor, and he does a lot of clinical studies. He's been around for a long time doing this work. And a lot of what you talk about and a lot of what he gives science to, because he presents this in a very scientific way, it just goes along so well with a lot of these things about the body being a messenger. I think these, I love that synchronicity when people have a different way of articulation, but they're saying the same things. It really confirms this stuff. And I love hearing it from a scientific point of view as well, because certainly for the more left brain, analytical, skeptical people, it is good to actually give them something that is has a trial behind it, or there's some way of quantifying it. Something I heard recently as well, I'm in the process of interviewing, and you'll love this. I saw a woman recently. She's 102 years old.
I saw that just yesterday where you did that. Yeah, I love it. I saw that you were putting her video out there. So you're going to interview her?
Well, exactly. And I'm so excited about it. And you know what's so brilliant about this woman? And I'm going to ask her about your mother, because I do have a feeling she's written a book, and I haven't got through the full book yet, but she spoke about how she's into reincarnation. And she's 102, and she's been her parents were missionaries years ago in India. So she grew up in India, and they were osteopaths. So she's always been in this holistic area. And she said years ago she got into reincarnation. So I'll have to ask her, but she is so brilliant because, she does like 3,600 steps a day around her house with a little walker. She's 102. She's got all of her cognitive functions, and she Zooms every day with people. She was on Australian TV recently. I'm going to be doing an interview with her in a couple of weeks. Incredible.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Very, very cool.
And I
love the message that was in there. She said she had something to live for, and that's why she's still alive. And that is it. Bingo. That's what so many times what the illness is trying to say is you lost your dream, you lost your purpose, you forgot what you wanted to do, and that's why you're so depressed. That's what diabetes, that's what the heart a lot of those are showing that. It's like you lost your fun.
Well, she calls it the fountain of youth. She said she gave an illustration because she's obviously watched probably most people in her life pass on. And she said that the moment an individual loses a sense of purpose. It might be losing a loved one, being married for 60 years or something. She said the moment that happens, that they don't have purpose, they begin to decay and leave the body. And it brings it back to, I spoke about this the other day, what your mother said is the universal question: what is my purpose? What am I meant to be doing? And isn't that just so interesting that the number one thing she always got asked, and what this 102-year-old has as life wisdom, is what you've got to learn your purpose. You've got to find out why you're here. And when I think you do, you can experience.
Yeah. And like, oh, shoot. Who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull? Do you remember that book? That was a big influential book for me when I was in my 20s, like my early 20s. Anyway, I don't know why I can't remember that name. But one of the things that was said in there, it's like, if you're, people like, am I done yet? I have a purpose, like I was here for a reason. Am I done? And I want to go. And this is before we got, we have to, my 20s was a long time ago. Okay. So we're, it's like, this is before all of the way we're talking now. And what was simply said in there is, if you're still here, you're not done yet. So it's like you still haven't finished what you came to do. And that's where we want to keep looking for that. So it's like, I totally agree. Yeah. If you are not seeing a reason for being here, then it's like, why am I here? And you will probably just, do something. This is on that other level. You will do things that it's like, why am I here? And so that's what your body's saying. You forgot what you're doing. You forgot, but that what you're creating in a disease process can and probably will kill you if you don't have a purpose, if you don't have anything to be here and living for. So
I think this is why QHHT is and I see it from all age levels, is such a powerful healing modality, because most people do ask, what is my purpose? What am I meant to be doing? And I think that one question being answered alone, when someone understands that, that can be transformative, because that will give them a sense of purpose. They know what they're here. They might, find out they're one of the 3 waves of volunteers, perhaps, or a light worker, or whatever they are, and then they begin to have a sense of purpose. That's how I found this work, is through QHHT. I wouldn't be here doing this interview if it wasn't for me going through that process and learning what my purpose was. And I remember the information that came through that first session I had years ago. And I was a pretty shy person. And the thought of even doing anything in front of a camera was just, and my higher self said, well, you're going to be making videos and talking and sharing that. I sat on that for a year, believe it or not, and didn't do anything with it because I thought it was too far out.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And that's why sometimes, and this is for if someone had a session, if you've had a session and your higher self says, we can't tell you that yet, it might be for that purpose right there. Because sometimes you're not ready to hear what it is. And you might, like, so you could have, with hearing that and going, you could have stopped and blocked it, and just stopped the whole process. So that's why your higher self knows if you're ready or not to hear what it is. But if it's saying you're not ready yet, or it's not time, that's what it's indicating. It's like, you're I don't know what it is, but maybe you're not ready to perceive it as something that's possible for you.
Yeah. So everything that was said in that session, I think so far now has come to pass, even though I thought it was, I'll be real honest. I was almost doubtful, I think, in the very beginning, because it was so out there. It was so beyond my comfort zone that I thought, maybe I made it up or read it in a book.
And that's the only way the conscious mind can deal with it. So preposterous. But then you probably listened to it, the recording, over and over. And
I did. And there was stuff that began to manifest, and then I thought, oh, I better go back and listen to that recording, and then I would remember, oh, okay, I said that, or it was a very, very interesting process. And that's why I think it's always so advised people, before they come practitioners, they go through the experience themselves and have a session, because you have to learn by experience. And for me, I drew upon that as I worked with other people and would think about my own experience and how it was for me when I was in having the hypnosis for the first time.
Yeah, and it's different for everyone, but definitely you don't understand what it feels like unless you have a session. It's just, I don't know how anybody, and this is my own belief, and I don't know how anybody can conceive of being able to do QHHT without experiencing it themselves. You have to be able to identify with your client, and you're not going to be telling them everything that's going on. You're not telling them what happened to you, but your experience, like you said, really helps you to help your client. When you least expect it, you're just going through it, and all of a sudden you'll remember, oh, wow, I experienced this or something, and it just helps you to give guidance maybe in a different way.
Yeah. Sometimes
they're just scared. Sometimes people are just afraid of the session. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to be uncovered. They don't know. And so even knowing that, because if your experience, you're probably a little apprehensive, and then, okay, then the information came in. Oh, what do I do with this now? So it's like, there's stuff there. You don't know what's going to happen. And that's probably the biggest thing is, what is it? And how do I deal with it? Well, because a lot of that, have you noticed that in society? It's like, I don't know if that's a society thing, is we want to know every little thing before it happens. It's like we're not open to surprises. So I don't know if that's something that's been cultivated. And I'm trying to remember back if, I don't know when, I'm always looking for the why in things. Why is this happening now? So maybe stuff happened back there that, or maybe as a generation before us had so many surprises, they're like, well, I'm going to prepare you for every possible thing that can happen. I don't know. Yeah. But it's okay to walk into something. You're always protected. You're always safe. You can walk in knowing that, and just be surprised by it. And that's how I had to deal with my own conscious mind in sessions. And this is where I tell people, and I help them that way, is your conscious mind comes in there. It's a jabberbox, and it's just like, this is crazy. This is silly. You saw it somewhere, and it's just talking up a storm. And so it's like you've got different parts to you. And I'm like, I just finally had to just say, hey, what have we got to lose? Let's just watch it. Let's just see what happens. Let's just play the game. What have we got to lose? And finally it calmed down. It would rile back up once in a while, but I would just say the same thing. Oh, let's just watch. Let's just see. It's not hurting us. We're just watching it. So see, that's just kind of this voice of reason that's what I use with mine, because it's a real, and then after the session, oh, you made it up. I'm like, okay, but that's just where we come in, and just be the voice of reason with it back. It's like, and it will calm down. But then that's how the abilities that I have been able to uncover or have come through have been able to do it, because with me talking to that conscious mind, going, you know what, it's not going to hurt us. It's okay. Let's just hear it out. Let's just see. Let's just that. And the conscious mind is realizing nothing is happening that's threatening it, because that's its concern, is that something's going to take it out. You're not going to need me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my job. That kind of thing. Yeah. It feels threatened. And when it realizes, no, actually, this is opening up a whole new world for me. And this is pretty cool. And I will continue doing I can watch over you, but then we can see this other information coming in, and I'm aware of it, and I'll come in and stop it if I need to. But it's doing really good at just accepting now and trusting. So see, we got it. We're coaching the conscious mind and how to work with all of this. And that's what they showed me early on. They were like, rather than, because in the beginning we have like a struggle. The conscious mind is like, get rid of that higher self. I don't know, it's just scary. And then the higher self's going, go away, conscious mind, you're in the way, blah, blah. No. And so you have this battle. And what they showed me was what they were doing in this situation. And what I encourage people to do is they like, get the two to cooperate. And then what happens? See, then the conscious mind is coming up with the growth and with that higher self. So it will just continue growing. That's a cool thing for the conscious mind. So it worked in my situation, and I see it working with a lot of people. And I think I've heard that message more than once from other people's higher selves. It's like, get the conscious mind to cooperate.
It kind of goes along with something that I recently discovered from just, from doing so many sessions now. And those people that meditate and they have a meditation practice, or those that do some kind of relaxation exercises where they're really calming the mind, calming that analytical mind, that Mr. Stupid that your mum used to call. I love that, and that description.
Right.
Tend to have better quality sessions. They go deeper. They find it easier because they've cultivated inner silence already. And so I think that's a huge benefit when someone, and I think it's not just for, say, going into hypnosis and going into QHHT, but I think it's also for things like getting in touch with our inherent abilities. When we have an internal environment that is conducive to here, where this analytical mind, this left side, is pushed a little bit back into the background, and we're listening to what else is there, we'd be amazed about just all the information we do get that we just don't hear because this voice over here is so loud.
It is. Now, an interesting thing that I have found is I do group coaching sessions with graduates of the Soul Speak system. And we work through, like, if they still have issues that they're trying to work on with themselves and get the information for. And the ones that are, it's really funny because, I'm used to pushback from the conscious mind of people that just are just on the edge of this and just don't really understand it. And it's like conscious mind's in there, blah, blah, blah. But then you have people that are full on, they are all the way in and everything. And it's just so funny to watch the conscious mind there as well. It still does the pushback. It's like conscious mind just does its thing, but I have to talk to it in a different way. And it's like, but it keeps coming in with, but I know that already. I've been doing it, and it comes in like that because it's doing all this work. See, it's got to be in control all the time. And I guess it's just afraid again. So that's something that I've noticed. But you're right, as far as what we're doing in a session is you are listening. You're it's these parts of you, or it's quieting down so that you can hear this other part of yourself. And if you've already gotten to where, see, that's cooperation. See, you've gotten the conscious mind to where it can be quiet, or it can be still, it can be whatever, while other things are happening, other information. Because if you're a deep meditator, you probably already have some of the stuff coming in. It's just in a session, it's more controlled, and so you can go even deeper than you would in a meditation session. So that's where you've already you've got it. Really, what they're saying is you've already got the cooperation of that conscious mind to hold back and allow this to come in, and it's doing it in a beautiful way where it's not obstructing it. That's your biggest thing, is you just don't want it blocked. This is bringing up something I hear over and over again. So I'm going to use this as a teaching moment, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I hear over and over again people, like, well, it didn't work for me at QHHT. It didn't work. I was aware. I was there the whole time. It didn't work. It didn't work. And then if I ask, well, but then they'll go on about, and we say, well, what happened in it? It's that thing. That's conscious mind. It didn't work. It didn't work. All right. That's the standard thing it says. But then when we get the details of it, and then the higher self, and what happened there, and information was coming in, and even through the lives, information was happening there. And that's your key point. If information is coming through, and that's what you want to ask, is information, or did information come through? It doesn't matter that this one was over here chattering the whole time. Did information come through? That's what you're looking for. It found a way to come in. Now, it will come in even better when this one quiets down, but did it come through? See, and that's what you look at. But by us saying, oh, it didn't work, see, now we're shutting it down and we're blocking anything further. So just understand, you're the one doing that. You're the one that's why I'm saying me, I have to talk to that part of me and going, how about we just see what it has to say? I can hear it over here. I can see it. And it's like, I know it's got something to say. So how about we listen? And then if you at any point don't like what it's saying, okay, fine. See, and that's where it's like, let's just play the game. And that's where we do things like that. So that's why I say that is sometimes that's what it takes to get the conscious mind to cooperate. It's just scared. It's so afraid of being taken out and pushed away and chucked away and hidden and never to be seen again. And it's like, oh, no. It's like a scared little child or something. I don't know. But anyway, but that's what I want. If information is coming through, perfect. It was a very successful session. And I wish we could take didn't work and success and all those words out of it, because you get what you need at that time. And if information is coming through, fantastic. Mission accomplished.
Get what you need. I said that to someone that left here the other day after having a session. I said, you don't get what you maybe want. You get what you need. And
get what you need. Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting way to look at it, but I think it's true, because we often come in to a session and we have expectations about how we think it's going to go. And often the higher self has a different idea because that's
exactly. So, yeah. And if you're going to have an expectation, I was just thinking maybe that's the one to have is I will get what I need, rather than, oh, I want this to happen. I want this. And it's supposed to go like this and all this. Just because we say go in with no expectations. But if you have to have an expectation, just go in knowing I will get exactly what I need. And be open to what.
And I suppose even for your mum, that founded this, people would obviously read her books and book in sessions. I'm sure there were many people that wanted to either be in a book or they wanted to have a session like that. But I would have imagined that there would have been a lot of sessions that weren't making it into the books, and they were probably more basic. What we would call basic. And maybe some people were disappointed by that. And I'm sure everyone wanted to be in a book. But we get what we need. And so often it can seem a little bit less, amazing.
Yeah. Well, and she said that it's like, and I can tell you probably the percentage of the people that she worked with and what made it into the books might have been, it's probably less than 10%.
Yeah.
Right? So it's closer to 5% of the people. And those are just lives that were like, okay, there's some special information or something different. And that was like something that she thought, it's like, it's one thing I heard earlier book, she was writing about common things, because that's what she was getting. And then after that, it was like, okay, this is unusual. I want that would probably be interesting to people. But where was I going with that? But it's like so she's going after that information. I mean, she was getting that information, and that's what's coming in. Now, let me get my train of thought back here.
Yeah, because it was like you were saying, like it was 10%. It was only really 10% of people that were really getting, sort of.
Probably not even 10%. Yeah. That's probably being very generous.
Because even. Because I think a lot of them she would have the same person come back and they would give her, like Nostradamus, for example, was the same person that was getting most of that information. Yeah,
that would be a special thing that she would be working on, maybe a special history story or something like that. That was an assignment. Nostradamus was an assignment, so that she had to finish that. So, but that didn't even stay with the same person. It went through several different people. Probably if I had to calculate, probably be 5, maybe 10% at the very, very most of her people that made it into books. But she has said many times, it's like in sometimes the most boring life. I mean, the most basic life you can imagine. It's hard. It's like, oh my gosh, what is this? Because as a practitioner, we don't know what is the reason for this. We get that information in the higher self, we get more information about it, ties it all together. But sometimes we're going through these lives going, what does this mean? What is it? What information and stuff? And it might be one little thing. We don't necessarily see it, but that person is seeing it because they're experiencing it. And it's one little tiny thing, that is what they needed. They needed that. And see, I'm getting all the truth bumps again. That it was like something, and it's like, to us, it's like, I don't understand the meaning of that. But to them, it means something. And that's what's important. It doesn't have to be monumental. It doesn't have to be otherworldly. It doesn't have to be book worthy. It's what did you, it probably changed your life because, that one thing. And that's what we found. That one little thing completely changed the trajectory of their life. That's what's important.
Yeah, and often when you see that, there's a tear coming down their eye, you see the emotion, and they're experiencing it on a very personal level. It means something to them. So I think you learn with this is you never really judge, and often the ones that you think weren't that incredible, you'll get the feedback months down the line saying how incredible it was. So we can never perceive really what is going on internally for someone, even through witnessing them having these experiences.
Exactly. And that's why no expectations. Let's just see what happens. For, the higher self, they're saying the higher self is in charge. They're calling the shots. They got you here and they know what they want to show you. They run the show. That's how they run the show. Let's just see what they've got to show you. Go from there.
And I always say to people, it often is a catalyst, and the session does never stop when you walk out the door. It, in fact, often will continue for, I think someone's still really open for at least 3 days. And then beyond that, this process seems to transpire where I call it like an integration phase. And that can take months. And I've even seen it up to at least a year. I know for me, it was a year before I was even ready to start to, implement any of the stuff I got. So that's what's so beautiful about these sessions. It's not one day. It's a process. And it even starts well before. As soon as they make that booking, stuff starts happening.
And before the booking, because something happened to get them to that point, to get to this point. So you are absolutely correct in that it's a process and it takes a while. And that's why we tell people, sometimes some people are session junkies and they want to keep having sessions. And it's like, oh, well, this doesn't happen. It's like, you have to allow. And we say at least a year. Give yourself that year to process what's going on here. Allow yourself to go through, and that's why you want to listen to the recording, but you're moving and shifting and changing. That doesn't happen like that, because it's a lot of times it's new thought processes that you're rewiring. Essentially, you're re-recording your tape that you've lived on for all that point up to then. Now you're changing what you want to say to yourself, how you want to be to yourself. These are some of the things that might happen in a session, is you're getting information that's shifting your whole world. Well, that, you've got to re-steer that boat. You're re-steering that. It's like a ship at that point. Okay. It doesn't just do a U-turn. It's going to gradually maneuver over here, and your world is going to change if you will take heed and you will do what was given to you, what was said. If you just check the whole thing, then don't expect changes. So I made it up. I did. Nothing happened. Then you just shut it down. That's what you did. So it's up to you what you do with that information once you have it. That's free will.
And even a lack of information can be very powerful, even if it's, like a very simplistic, your mum called it digging potato lives. And, when you do study history, and I've actually studied more history since becoming a practitioner than ever before, because I'm interested to know a lot about cultures and times to give me better insight. And when you look at world history, particularly, hundreds of years ago and beyond, lives were pretty bland for the vast majority of people.
Yes.
Pretty simplistic. The upper classes perhaps had a more opulent kind of existence, but most people had pretty basic, mundane,
day-to-day
lives,
routine, the things, and they were just surviving. They were doing things to survive. They were content, happy within their own life. They didn't have, they were just in their own little worlds. It's like they didn't have necessarily aspirations to go do these other things. Most of them weren't even exposed to other things. It was just, this is my world. This is where I'm at. and I'm living within it and I'm doing these things. And so that's where some lives are very simplistic. They don't even know a time period. They don't know where they are because they don't have that understanding of geography, anything like that. So that's why it's really another teaching point. You might have, as a client, you might kind of have an understanding, but or feel something about it, but sometimes you have no idea where you are. And this is why you don't want to ask things like that in a session, because that will actually pull you up into this conscious mind to try and determine and evaluate where you are. And we don't want that. And so practitioners out there, don't do it. Let them stay in their world where they may not be aware of where they are and who they are and what their name is. That's why those things are not important. Yeah. Because they pull you up and out of your trance.
Absolutely. It's a good point, actually. A practitioner can tend to want to go there for curiosity reasons, but it's not necessary at all.
It's not necessary at all.
Unless they just pop out. Once I had a woman, I think she said, "I'm seeing 1900," and she said, "Oh, okay, that's the year." So obviously, okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Exactly. And sometimes that will happen. They'll pop out with it, but you don't go. Yeah. If you ask them to go look for it, then they have to go to their analyzing part of their brain, and that will pull them out.
It's a fascinating conversation. Again, I love doing this every time we meet, and I look forward to doing it.
So fun. And I know we're getting into more teaching, but it's fine. I think these are good reminders for people.
Yeah, I think it's great, and particularly around, the two biggest subjects I think that people love to hear about are health-related stuff, and it seems to be anything around abilities and gifts and psychic abilities. So I wanted to discuss both of those today, and we did a great job of it.
Good deal. Yay.